collection where the Arts Council invest in artists, and it's at quite a critical juncture in their career. It is where their work is still to some extent affordable to buy for the state, but it's a real acknowledgement of their importance to the state, to the country and to the citizenship. It's kind of like a visual art seed store, like a snapshot of some of the most interesting and innovative and talented artists in the country at any given time.
I remember being stuck for a story. You'd have a pitching session where you're meant to come up with all these fantastic ideas, and I had none. And someone suggested you should have a look at the small ads. And that really began a lifelong obsession. A couple of months ago I came across this one. And it's beautiful crisping gown with bonnet for sale, never worn. You can see how an ad like that would be of interest to me. And my modus operandi was quite simple. I would text people and I would say, I'm doing a piece for radio or I'm writing a book. I'd like you to tell me a little bit about the story behind the ad. Would you mind telling it to me?
It's extraordinary that Downing Street, presumably Dominic Cummings, banned the Department of Health in London from participating in meetings with the rest of Europe to discuss how to deal with coronavirus. There's an irrationality that's taken over. It goes back to the rejection of all expertise by Michael Gove in the referendum. So you just don't need experts anymore. Why do you not need experts? It's because you want to act irrationally.
You want to control the narrative, and the experts mightn't allow you
Exactly.
to ask you complicated questions.
It was in Pakistan, in northern Pakistan, on a very narrow mountain road that was high up with a gorge far down below, and we came upon a rockfall, and the bus driver waited for a time for the crew to try and clear the rockfall, but he had to keep going because he couldn't continue the journey. He had to get to the destination before it was dark, otherwise he was definitely going to fall off the road. So he started to drive the bus at an angle, and it was already overloaded with cargo and all the people, so the bus was actually going so went from there to go like that. And I'm looking to the scenic right-hand side, looking down, thinking, this is the end. And people always say I don't know how they know, because nobody ever comes back from being drowned to tell us what it was like, but there's a myth that you see your life flashing before you in pictures and images as you're about to die, and nothing dramatic happened to me at all. I saw nothing. I saw no faces of my family. I'm so sorry for any of you here. All I saw was, the only thing that came into my head was the cup of coffee I'd left unfinished that morning because I was rushing to get the bus.
I remember so vividly when the book was being published, we were like, God, imagine Marion Keyes knew that our book existed. Right. Wouldn't that be amazing? And then next thing, there was a picture of her on the internet holding it, talking about it.
It was
It's crazy.
Stop. It's my family photo album.
Yeah.
A screenshot from a YouTube video.
And this was early September because I had to drive down to Stradbally to pick up my brother and his wife from Electric Picnic because they were like, we're not staying another night, we're rented. And Sarah rang me as I was driving back.
And I would never ring, I would always text.
Yeah,
ringing is very aggressive.
It's so aggressive to ring somebody.
You're voicing me. Am I in trouble? What have I done?
And I was like, if the phone is ringing, somebody's dead, so I had to answer. And Sarah was like, Marion Keyes not in your book. And I was like, what? So I think I pulled in and listened to what you had said. And Marion she does these vlogs. And she had said, she was holding up the book and she was like, this book, I just love it so much. And we were like, and it just kind of gained momentum, and every week more and more people were buying it.
Smiling mysteriously to conceal a broken heart, your embarrassing pain too apparent to everyone, as out of place here as the suppurating wound of your grief.
I can see that others have hurt you.
You've suffered from the cruelty of carelessness,
from the thoughtless exuberance of youth,
from the smugness of coupledom, a reluctant invitation to attend at their table, generously delighting in someone else's happiness, then left brusquely on your own to take a taxi home at the end of the occasion, resuming your life as a single oddity.
Will you not reach out to touch my hand? It's the hand of a baby, so that I can grasp at even your littlest finger, inviting you to fan the spark of love to flame.
So you're meeting you at the fence or the wall?
Yeah, and where we would ask them to kick our ball back if we kicked it over the wall. But now there's like a big fence and loads of signs saying, please do not talk to the children, do not take photographs with the children, which probably should have been there in the 90s, but was not there in the 90s. So things have changed a little bit. We were, quite out in the open, literally on the banks of the Shannon with 10,000 tourists a year.
That's the thing that saves it.
Yeah.
In fact, if I hadn't told you it was Chardonnay, I'd say you wouldn't have.
One of these days, I must persuade someone to.
I'm going to ask you to talk about your choice first, Neil, if you will. You recommended Kathleen Janey's Sightlines.
She writes about her life as, at this point, as a mother of small children and as a daughter of aging parents, which is a position that a lot of people are in. It's a strange phase in our lives. But she also talks about our collective place in the world, and if I can put it this way, she puts humans in our place, and I don't mean by that she's scolding or teaching us lessons. I mean in a planetary sense. She understands very, very well, I think, that our human history is just a little skin on the surface of the world, that the planet was here for millions of years before we came along, and it'll be here after we're gone.
She'd felt fearless. She'd stood to walk behind him to his bedroom, and when his telephone rang for the second time, and he'd returned to the narrow hall to answer it, she had stepped out for a skirt and tights and stood in her green shirt on the blue rug, her legs bare and white, and waited, breathing in the damp and the cigarette smoke and something that smelt like paint thinner.
She faltered, and for what felt like an agonizingly long time, there was silence. Patricia looked at her friend. There were tears in her eyes, a reminder that for all her bravado, she was only 16. Patricia stood and finished the line. As to how the fine ladies in London are dressed. From the other side of the garden, a third girl joined them. Well, if you'll believe me when asked to a ball. And then a fourth. They don't wear no tops to their dresses at all. By the time they'd reached the final line, all 8 workers were singing.
I was an outsider going on the inside. I was all inside, going the wrong way up in a one-way street with too much weight on my sleeve. And the food, chicken and chicken run. It took me years to realise that what you want. It wasn't a name. It was a question. And shouldn't be responded to by saying what you want. The chicken and the fish, red snapper in onion and pepper sauce, and dumplings like clouds floating in Saturday stew, and the fried dumplings like nuggets of air bubble gold, and saltfish fritters, and ackee and saltfish, and curry coats, and rice and peas. I had come to the land of milk and honey and plantain and yam and sweet pumpkin and gunga peas and banana cake and champ. And I was hungry. And I was hungry for it all. Light. This was like the first time I went to the hairdressers. First time I went to a black hairdressers. First time I went to a dance. First black girlfriend. My first black girlfriend.
In the centre, you leave
a bit of a tale because you want to make it easy for yourself doing the math.
Do you think that slowly there's an improvement? Are children engaging more through not just your work, obviously, but in a broader sense? Are things getting better?
Well, there's more awareness there because, you know, because the impact of what we're doing to the world is becoming apparent to everybody. I mean, we've been talking about the fact that the world is getting warmer for, like the fellow in Dawson Street, for more years than I care to remember. But it was only the North Pole melt. That was only a few polar bears. Who cares about them? And it was only getting warmer down around the equatorial regions, getting drier. But we're halfway between the pole, we're halfway between the pole and the equator. So we weren't getting any impact because we were well removed. But it's now coming to knock on our doorsteps. We're getting storms, we're getting floods, we're getting, you know, there was all this sniggers about, oh, the world is going to get warmer. So couldn't we do with a warmer summer here? This would be great kind of thing. You know, this was the attitude towards it. And as it didn't happen on our back door, not in my backyard, this wasn't happening in our backyard, we didn't want to know. So if there's a greater awareness now, it's only because it has come knocking on our door. And we're practically at the end of our rope. If it's got to the British Isles, if it's got to New Zealand, if it's got to those areas halfway between the pole and the equator, then this is the impact it's having on us.
I wonder, do you have any belief or, you know, ideas around, you know, sometimes you hear this theme of an ancestral memory, that perhaps somehow you have a set of memories that are coming to you from the past, or a set of awarenesses that are coming to you from the past?
I wouldn't say ancestral, because I'm quite resistant to that idea that any of it's genetic. And for me, it's clearly not anyway. I mean, I have this very mixed background from all over the show. So not ancestral, but I do...
But you know that Jungian idea that in fact this society today kind of holds the memories, not necessarily of a bloodline back, but of all the societies that have gone before them.
I think there's a practice of being in a place and a kind of attentiveness to place, which I hope and believe can work. I mean, it's beautiful if it's done by mountains or the sea, but I think you can also do it in Coventry, which is not pretty by any stretch of the imagination. I think if you pay enough attention to your surroundings and the materiality of place, yes, you can, I don't know if it's intuition or just storytelling, but some kind of understanding of something that's not you can take place.
But is there in the landscape, you would suggest? Is that what you're saying?
Or the cityscape, or wherever it is, yes.
Which might explain why Coventry Cathedral and the bombing of Coventry Cathedral is part of one of the novels.
Yes.
I suppose.
Yeah.
That's part of your cityscape, your city
history.
Exactly.
Yes.
As a way to thank our adopted grandparent, we had been tasked with making something for them. Confident in my moulding skills, I had created a candle holder and made a booklet. I think others did the same. Miss Lynch had sent a picture of my booklet. I chuckled at my handwriting, big and bubble-like with inconsistencies in how my letters curved, telltale signs of youth depicting the excitement of someone who had just started using a pen. My handwritten message read, "Dear Paddy, thank you for coming in and being my adopted grandparent and sharing all your wonderful stories. I really appreciate you coming in. Have a very Merry Christmas and have a great 2009, from Zainab." At the bottom of the booklet in printed font, it read, "This booklet was completed by grandparent Mr. and Mrs. Lynch and grandchild Zainab Bolladale." All my memories of my time in the classroom exchanging stories with Paddy came flooding back. I'm amazed and touched that after all these years, this booklet still exists.